What's going on, man? Hey, this is Coach I. I'm here with the stat guy. You know what we're doing. We're doing win totals in the Power Five conferences. We did the SEC, and now we're on to the Pac-12 win totals. Win totals, hey, for those that are not familiar with this or new to like gambling type deal. For instance, you get a point for a win, a half for a toss-up game, and no points for a loss. All right, man.
Yeah,
Let's get into it.
the fanatic. Where we keep it 100, keep it real. That's the only way we know how to be. Talking that sports talk. You know what I'm saying? Straight out of South Carolina. Upstate, 864. Yeah, the FANATTIC. The fanatic where we keep it OG. We talking sports, so I call what
All right, man. Like I say, man, it's Coach I and Stat Guy. We're here to talk some college football. What we do on this channel, man, it's the Fanatic on the Fanatic Sports Network. How you feeling today, Stat Guy?
Hey man, excited to be talking about some Pac-12, man. Welcome to the bloodbath.
Listen, I will say up front, I don't know if the industry is gonna consensus is gonna agree, but I do think the Pac-12, when you're talking about parity in the league and those that have a chance to win the actual conference, if you're looking at it from those aspects, they're going to be the best conference. Of course, you know the Big Ten and the ACC and the SEC all have the heavy hitters at the top, but I personally think legit five, maybe even six teams could win the Pac-12
And make some noise in doing it.
and make some noise in doing it. So that's right. That's right. Hey man, for those that are new to the channel, like I say, man, it's a stat guy. He's a Carolina fan. I'm Coach I, Georgia fan, but we try to keep it straight to the point when talking about other teams, unbiased opinion. So follow along with us. We will start the Pac-12 off with Arizona, man. Arizona plays Northern Arizona. I gave them a win.
Win.
Arizona at Mississippi State. I think that's a half.
I gave him the loss.
UTEP at home. I said it's a half.
Win.
At Stanford, that's a half.
Stanford's one of the few teams I can beat in the Pac-12. I gave him the win.
There it is. Okay. Week 5, they got Washington at home. I think Washington is one of those contenders in the Pac-12. I got this as a straight up loss.
Yeah, it's going to get ugly.
All right. Then they got to travel to USC in the reigning Heisman Trophy winner, Caleb Williams. That's a loss.
Good job, Pac-12. Way to set them up for success there with back-to-back weeks. Give them the loss.
That's right. And then they travel to Washington State, which I don't think any Pac-12 likes to do, but I did give them a half for this one.
Oh, ain't no way they're going up there and getting a win. I gave them a loss.
All right. And then they get an off week and they play Oregon State at home. DJU and whoever else is battling for quarterback out there, I gave them a loss for this one.
I gave them a loss as well.
And then they follow that up with UCLA at home. Chip Kelly gave them a loss.
Loss, even with UCLA probably starting a freshman quarterback.
All right. And then they travel to Boulder, Colorado to take on Dion and Shador and company. I got this as a half.
I gave him the half here.
And then Utah at home gave them a loss straight up.
Loss.
Then they travel to their rivalry week at Arizona State. I gave them a half.
Half.
All right. So I ended Arizona with 4 wins. What did you say?
I gave him 4 wins.
And what did Vegas say?
I don't know what the people from Vegas, what schedule they're looking at, because they have them at 5.
There it is. All right, let's just let you know, man. This is for entertainment purposes only. Don't blame the stat guy, Coach I, man. If y'all go out there and try to put the house on Arizona going on the over. Listen, man, we just out here giving our opinion, man. All right, so moving on to Arizona State, Southern Utah, I think it is first game win. Oklahoma State at home. I got this as a loss.
Loss.
Fresno State at home. I got this as a half.
Half.
USC at home. It's a half. I mean, that's a loss straight up.
Loss.
At California, it's a half.
I gave him a half here as well.
Colorado at home, that's a half.
Gave him a half here as well.
They get an off week just so they can travel to Washington and take the straight up loss.
Loss.
Then they get Washington State at home. I think that's a half.
Hey, at least they get the 2 Washington schools back to back. That's nice of them. But I gave them a loss.
All right. Then they got to go to Utah. It's a loss.
Loss.
to UCLA. It's a loss.
Loss.
Then they get Oregon at home, but it's still a loss.
Still a loss.
And then there's the rivalry week against Arizona, as we just said. That's a half for me.
And I gave them the half as well.
That's 3.5, a little 1/2 a game lower than Arizona. What did you say?
I gave them 3.
And what did Vegas say?
Vegas thinks that them and Arizona are in the same boat having a party at 5.
All right. So, hey, Vegas is a little bit higher on Arizona State than we are. I guess I could see them giving them a win against Fresno State, which would cover one of those halves, and then a win against Washington State at the house or Colorado, one of the two. All right, on to California. Listen, one of the things I want to say about the Pac-12, the reason why I think it's going to be one of the better conferences, if not competitively inside within each other, the best conference, top to bottom, is because of the quarterback play. It's just ridiculously good in the Pac-12. You got Bo Nix at Oregon, you got Cam Rising at Utah, Caleb Williams at USC, you got Michael Penix Jr. at Washington, and listen, we know what Chip Kelly can do with good quarterbacks. So even though they got a freshman there, I just think it's the quarterback plays that's going to be off the charts in the Pac-12.
And then you didn't even mention the transfer of DJU to Oregon State. Like it's just when you're talking about DJU and potentially what we know he can do if he puts it together, being the 8th or 9th best quarterback in a conference, crazy.
And no, coming off a 9-3 season for the Oregon State Beavers too. So if they let him throw the ball, like take more deep shots like he wants to, I think he may see some improvement there. All right, so we got California. Yep, that's what we just did. California. Yep, North Texas. I got that as a half.
I got that as a half as well. The mean
Uh,
grain you don't like to play with.
Yeah, I think North Texas is one of those programs on the West, like kind of like the Appalachian State Coastals over here. It's like let's just don't schedule them. Auburn at home, I got that as a half.
I gave him the loss.
Then you got Idaho, I got it as a win.
I'll give him the win against Idaho.
At Washington, loss.
Loss.
Arizona State at home, half.
And I also gave them the half there.
Oregon State at home, I'm giving them a loss.
Loss.
At Utah, that's a loss.
Loss.
And then they get an off week, and then they gotta play Caleb Williams and Lincoln Riley. That's a loss.
What's the deal with the Pac-12 lining anybody up for their off weeks just to get slaughtered by the Lamb? Lord, I'm giving them the loss there.
Then they gotta go to Oregon, loss.
Loss.
They play Washington State at home. I gave them a half here.
I gave them a loss.
And then they got to go to Stanford. I think they may just get Stanford outright, but I did give them a half here.
I gave them the outright W there.
Okay. And then they get UCLA at UCLA. I gave them the straight up loss there. I just think Chip Kelly's, and got it rolling over there.
I'm with you. I gave them the loss.
All right. So I got California at 3.5. What do you have them at?
I had them at 3.
Are we off base? What did Vegas say?
Vegas has them, Arizona and Arizona State, all hanging out with 5 wins.
All hanging out with 5. Lord. Okay. We're gonna see. Listen, Vegas. If I was a bet man, I might take them up on that, but we'll see. Listen. I can tell you like this, man. Going alphabetical order for the Pac-12 is not looking good for the Pac-12. Hang with us, folks. Hang with us. The good teams are in the back alphabetically. All right, Colorado and Deion Sanders first year. Primetime is used to winning a lot. I'm going to let you know. I don't know if he's going to win as much as he wants to here this first year. How you feeling about primetime in Colorado?
Hey man, we'll see. I mean, definitely a spicy hire. What they flipped 71 of their 85 scholarship players in 1 year. I mean, that's pretty impressive just to fill that. I mean, and not to mention with the talent that he filled it with. I mean, there's just questions out about how long he actually is going to be there and if he can stay long enough to turn them into a power, because it's not going to be an overnight sensation. But I'm telling you right now, the team he took over, even with the talent he brought in and this schedule, why don't you just hop into it?
All right, man. At TCU to start it off, no Max Duggins, but hey, there's still a lot of talent left there, and TCU, not an easy place to play. I got this as a loss for Colorado.
Straight up loss.
Then Nebraska, I got this as a half. I think, 2 first-year coaches. I just think Nebraska has a little bit more talent, but they get them at home. But I got this as a half.
I gave him the half.
Colorado State, I think they will beat Colorado State. That's a win.
I gave them a half
Then they have to go to Oregon. It's a loss.
loss.
They like, what's up with the Pac-12 going? Listen, I get it that they have to play the big dogs, but you don't always have to do them back to back. They go to Oregon and then they get USC at home. I got that as a loss to USC.
Loss.
And then at Arizona State, that's a half.
Um, I actually gave them the loss there.
Okay, and then they get Stanford at home. I got that as a half.
I actually have that as an outright win.
All right, and then they get an off week and then travel to Chip Kelly and UCLA. I got that as a loss.
Loss.
Then they got Oregon State at home. That's a loss.
Loss.
They got Arizona at home. That's a half.
And I gave them the loss there.
At Washington State, I'm actually giving them a half. That'll be that one game where everybody probably at this point expects them to lose, but they'll show up and give a fight. But I got that as a half.
I got them the outright loss at Washington State.
And then they finished the year up as strong as they started the year, and they got to go to Utah, and I gave them the outright loss.
I gave them the outright loss there.
Listen, man, I got Colorado at 3.5. I know some Colorado fans may not want to hear that. I know some primetime fans might not want to hear that, but that's brutal. They have to play, like I said, I think there's like 4 or 5 that may be able to challenge for the Pac-12. They have to play Oregon, USC, UCLA, Utah, and Oregon State. 5 teams that I think, could do it, and it's not good. And then TCU to boot. So what does Vegas say they're going to do?
So you went 3.5. I went 2.5, and Vegas split the uprights with the solid 3.
With the solid 3, which would be a 200% increase because they only won 1.
But I will, while we're speaking on Colorado, I will say right now, if Coach Prime somehow figures out a way to go 6-6, he is going to win National Coach of the Year in a landslide.
I think without a doubt, if they go 6-6, he is Coach of the Year. I don't care who wins the national title.
Yeah,
because even though he did upgrade per recruiting services, he upgraded the roster. That's a lot of overhaul to get everybody on the same page and be, elite or excellent or above average per se. So I think you're right. 6-6, primetime deserves Coach of the Year. All right, on to Oregon, one of the teams that I think can challenge for the Pac-12. And let's go ahead and get into it. Portland State, that's a win.
Win.
At Texas Tech, I think Texas Tech is going to be better than a lot of people realize. That's going to be a hard game for them because they're on the road. I got this as a half.
I gave them the half as well.
Okay. Hawaii, that's a win.
That's a win.
Colorado at home, that's a win.
Win.
At Stanford, some reason Oregon and Stanford got this thing going, but I just think Oregon's way too talented. That's a win.
Yeah, it's a good rivalry when they're both good, but right now only one of the 2 schools is good, so I gave them the win.
All right, and then the off week, and then they got Washington at Washington, another team that I think is in that challenge mode, and I got this as a half.
I gave them the coin flip here.
All right, and they got Washington State at home, and I got that as a win.
I gave them the win.
They go to Utah, who's been the king of the Pac-12 the last few years. I got this as a half.
Man, look, Utah just has Oregon's number right now. I got Utah with the win.
All right, then they got California at home. I got that as a win.
Win.
And then the game that I am actually, one of the games I'm definitely looking forward to, they get, Southern Cal at home. That's a half.
I gave them the half as well.
All right, at Arizona State, I got them as a win.
Win.
And then isn't this called the Civil War? Oregon State at home? Half.
I'm giving the half as well, and you are correct. Civil War.
All right, so I got Oregon finishing at 9.5 wins. What do you have?
I have them at 9 wins. And are you sure you do not work for Vegas Insider? Because Vegas also has them at 9.5.
There it is. All right. I think Oregon, listen, man, depending on the way the ball bounces and injuries, I think they can have a special year. Bo Nix is back for his, COVID year or whatever, and he's looked better in the Pac-12 than he ever did in the SEC, and they could do some special things. And on to Oregon State. I got San Jose State, UC Davis, San Diego State, all as wins.
I'm right there with you. 3-0.
At Washington State, I got that as a half.
I got that as a loss.
Then Utah at home, they got home field advantage. I think Utah's a better team, but I got it as a half.
Loss.
All right. And then you got at California, I got that as a win.
Win.
Then there UCLA at home, I got that as a half.
Loss.
They got an off week, then they travel to Arizona. I got that as a win.
Win.
Against Dion the next week at Colorado, I got that as a win.
Win.
And then I got them finishing the season with all halves at playing Stanford at home, Washington at home, and then traveling to Oregon.
So I got them beating Stanford, losing to Washington, and then a half against the Ducks.
All right. So I finished Oregon State with 8.5 wins. What do you say?
I'm at 7.5, and Vegas is right there with both of us. They gave them 8.
There it is. Last year they were 9-3 in the regular season. I actually think Oregon State can make some noise depending on the play of the quarterback here. And if they don't contend for the conference, they will hurt somebody that is contending for the conference. So there it is, man. That's the first half of the Pac-12. We're going to get into the second half of the Pac-12. Let us know what you think, man. Are we off? Are we crazy? Do you agree about the Pac-12 being a really good conference this year? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe, man, for the Stat Guy. This is Coach I. Out.
Peace.
We got it jumping like it's that valley. I call my dogs out the pound, let's go eat. Turn on the fan at it, let's have a debate. Who really hold down the Southeast from state to state? What team hungry gonna eat everything up off they plate?